What's up everyone, welcome to Stockton. It's a pleasure to meet all of you. On this channel, we talk about stocks before they start blowing up, say goodbye to chasing stocks at all-time highs, and say hello to making some money. So if this sounds like something you want to take advantage of, then hit that beautiful subscribe button and like the video. Now let's get to it. Before we get into the video, I have to say that I'm not a financial advisor. Anything I say is just my opinion and is for entertainment purposes only. Having said that, if I'm talking about a company, I'll let you know whether I'm personally going to invest in it or not towards the end of the video. But you should always do your own due diligence, so with that out of the way, let's get started. On this channel, we've talked a lot about BNGO's revolutionary technology. There is no doubt that Saphyr is disrupting the field of cytogenetics. With clinical adoption of Saphyr on the horizon, we can expect BNGO to have a huge total addressable market. The CEO of BNGO, Erik Holmlin, said in the latest earnings call that there is no limit as to how big BNGO's total addressable market can be. But in order for BNGO to tap into this huge total addressable market, it will need to overcome some challenges. In this video, we'll discuss what this challenge is. The biggest challenge for BNGO is to get widespread adoption of the technology by clinical labs in the United States. This will require additional studies that show concordance with the standard of care as well as the development and validation of clinical assays. So what does this actually mean? Well, you see, clinical labs need to be able to bill insurance providers and be reimbursed for their tests before they'll comfortably convert over to BNGO's Saphyr product. Now, obtaining reimbursement is easier in Europe, where the company saw a lot of traction last year. Europe is more likely to adopt new technologies because they largely have a single payer system. These are quicker to grant reimbursements. Erik Holmlin, the CEO of bionano genomics, said in the earnings call that in the US, we've noted that the path to reimbursement from third-party payers is going to be a necessary step to gaining widespread adoption of optical genome mapping with the Saphyr system, which can be a slow and challenging process. So let's see why reimbursements is such a challenge. In order for patients to have full access to the benefits of genetic testing, payers such as insurance companies and Medicare need systematic ways of evaluating genetic tests for reimbursement. Currently, there are barriers that make it difficult for payers to do so. Without this information, insurers cannot properly assess how to reimburse for genetic tests. One challenge insurers face is the difficulty of deciding when to reimburse for genetic tests that healthcare providers have offered their patients. The reason this is difficult is that insurers may not be able to easily evaluate what type of genetic test was performed, whether the test was appropriate to perform, and whether the test is scientifically valid. This is in part because procedures are built according to a standardized system of current procedural terminology, or CPT for short. There are fewer than 200 CPT codes for about 70,000 genetic tests. This means that there is no straightforward way to bill for many tests or for payers to identify what genetic tests were given. So from this, it sounds like BNGO will need to work with the American Medical Association on getting more CPT codes to make it easier for insurers to reimburse these clinical labs whenever they use Saphyr. The good news is that work is being done on this front. So for example, labs in the US are launching lab-developed tests. Praxis, for example, has launched several such tests on the Saphyr, which it has already obtained reimbursement codes for. It's also good to see that bionano genomics recently added healthcare and genomics industry experts with experience in commercialization and reimbursement to its board of directors. So, as I mentioned earlier, work is being done on this front, and we should keep an eye out for more news around reimbursement codes because this is what will ultimately drive mass adoption of Saphyr in the clinical labs across the US. BNGO's main strategy for the second quarter, however, is to focus on other European countries that have low barriers to entry with regards to getting reimbursement. This makes perfect sense. Catching the low-hanging fruit first and monopolizing the areas where you have a low barrier to entry is a surefire way to develop a strong presence on a global level. Personally, I think this reimbursement issue is just a temporary thing because remember, this affects not just BNGO, but it affects all gene sequencing technologies, so it affects specific biosciences as well as Illumina. In my opinion, genome mapping and structural variation analysis along with long-read sequencing will become the norm, whereby insurance companies will no longer hesitate when providing reimbursement. Anyways guys, leave a comment below and let me know what you think about the current BNGO share price. The market is still being temperamental, so BNGO has been trading lower than where it used to be, but as a long-term investor, I'm not too concerned about short-term fluctuations. Having said that, I do have a very good average in this company, which definitely helps on red days, but I'm more concerned about knowing everything I can about the companies I invest in and keeping you all up to date with what I find. This will help build our conviction more so that when or if the market crashes, we can buy the dip with more confidence. That's it for me in this video. Have an awesome day and I'll see you in the next one.